What's up, A to Z Sports? Finally live on a Friday, having some computer issues, which is no fun. So yesterday, traffic issues. Today, computer issues. So a couple things that just make the general public angry. Technology and traffic. But we are back here live on a Friday. Going to have a fantastic show because we have a lot of things to discuss because the Titans wrapped up 2 days of joint practices against the Seahawks. Saw good things, saw bad things. The offense is struggling. It's not just 2 incomplete passes, as I've seen in the YouTube waiting room chat this morning. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot of overall struggles with what this offense had over the last 2 days of joint practices. We're going to dive through it all. Brian Callahan has made a key, interesting decision about Saturday's game. We'll discuss if we like it or not. And then we'll talk about an overall big picture conversation about what the last 2 days look like for the Titans as a big picture for the year. Gonna have a big show. We also had an announcement. I teased it on Twitter last night, and people are interested. We're gonna have an announcement here probably in about 15, 20 minutes or so. But Sam, I'm excited about it, generally pumped. I'm gonna end the show with good news. So welcome in. Good news is your computer is working and charging. And so that is a big deal here. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
All right. Hey, let's do it here. We have a lot to talk about. Cannot wait to talk about these joint practices and really clarify, Austin, what you saw over the last 2 days, what I saw over the last 2 days, have some good debates and conversations with the chat potentially about what it all means for this team. So it's going to be a great show. And that means if you're watching the show this morning, you have to go share the show. So share the show before we kick things off. Hit the share button in the bottom right corner on Facebook. Go to YouTube, take that YouTube link, send it to a friend or a Titans fan or a group chat, and let them know, hey, good debate going on, talking Titans offense, talking joint practices on A to Z Sports. Share before we go here on a Friday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A2Zsports.com. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Follow us there at A to Z Sports. And also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Like Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and save money and get better coverage by using our link for a quote today, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So a lot of really good things to talk about today. We do have the announcement coming up. I teased it on Twitter last night, and it's always funny when you say something like legitimately pumped for what the opportunity we finalized tonight. Titans fans are going to be excited. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning, and just flood my phone from a bunch of different. Oh, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? So the tweet gained some traction. So I'm excited to get to it. Sam, you know about it. It's going to be something we're doing for the next couple of weeks. And we'll get to more of that here later on in the show. But yesterday, we did our show from the Titans practice fields, getting ready for day 2. So let's go through some quick day 2 defensive notes, and then we'll talk about what I saw from the offense and the overall topic about the offensive struggles. So, Sam, take us through some of the defensive notes that you saw from the Titans crew yesterday, as that's where you spent day 2 of joint practices on Thursday.
Well, it started off as, a really, really bad day for one play because the Titans defense went over to face the Seahawks offense. And Austin, you brought up on yesterday's morning show when we were sitting out there at St. Thomas Sports Park that, well, the Titans need to find an answer for DK Metcalf. That was like, see if they have somebody who can match up with him. The very first play of Seahawks offense was team period, and Geno Smith dropped back. Threw a ball about 50 yards down the field to a wide open DK Metcalf. Completely busted coverage by Quandre Diggs and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Not sure whose assignment necessarily it was to run with Metcalf down the field, but he was all alone. And the Seahawks started off the day very big. I will say after that, the Titans recovered very, very nicely. I see some people in the chat, Titans Kyle is saying Big Jeff is a bully. And yeah, I mean, there was one-on-ones at one point between the Titans defensive line and the Seahawks offensive line. Arden Key came off the edge, did a little spin move around Charles Cross and got to the quarterback in like 2 seconds. It was a crazy win by Arden Key, immediately followed by Big Jeff, just basically taking 2 steps, grabbing Laken Tomlinson, the Seahawks left guard, chucking him over to the side and sacking the quarterback. Ridiculously impressive. Very good stuff from the Titans defensive front. And I will say, just as a whole, they settled in nicely as a full defense after that. There wasn't really any other explosive plays or big plays. A lot of this stuff was going on in the red zone, and, they held their own in the red zone very nicely. Otis Reese got some work with the first team, playing inside linebacker alongside Jack Gibbons. Otis is kind of the backup, I guess, that's next up behind Kenneth Murray right now, because Chance Campbell fits more in that Jack Gibbons role. And then Otis Reese kind of fits easier behind Kenneth Murray. So Otis Reese got some run with the ones, did pretty well. Safety Keaton Ellis got a lot of work with the twos and flashed for me, made a couple of very big plays. So overall, a lot of energy on the Titans defense, and they settled in after a rough first play.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of indicative of what the first day of practice was, is that DK Metcalf could basically do whatever he wants. Every once in a while, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I honestly didn't see much of Tyler Lockett doing – I don't know if he was just not taking a lot of reps, because Tyler Lockett's good and he's a vet and just knows what to do. But really not a ton of other guys. What about Kenneth Walker III? How'd the Titans defense do on bottling him up? Because he's a very elusive running back for Seattle.
Yeah, certainly improved, and that kind of goes into the tackling that I brought up. Otis Reese had a nice tackle for loss. Keaton Ellis hit Walker in the backfield at one point, wrapped him up, made a nice tackle. It didn't feel like the Titans were missing a lot of first tackle attempts, and that was really something that I think they did really well. And then limited the explosive passing plays after, which of course is easier to do in the red zone. But after that first kind of toss to DK, it was very solid. And then we saw it to end the practice. Seattle comes out in a 2-minute drill, and they're kind of just running 2-minute drill scenarios. And the Titans bent a little bit, but ultimately did not break. Got a couple of penalties drawn on the Seahawks offense and forced Geno Smith to throw up a Hail Mary, which was intercepted by Amani Hooker. When Sam Howell came in just a few plays into his drive, Chance Campbell had an interception. So good efforts, really, by the Titans defense all the way around. And this aggressive style of defense is going to be prone to allowing some of those big explosive plays that we've seen. Like, hey, if you mess up your coverage a little bit and you're blitzing a lot of your guys in your secondary, then maybe DK Metcalf gets wide open for a big gain. But overall, I think the Titans handled it very nicely. And as I've seen some people in the chat pointing out, this is, of course, without L'Jarius Sneed, without Chidobe Awuzie. Roger McCreary even missed some time at one point during practice and went off and then came back on. So you were really seeing a stripped down Titans defense holding their own against Seattle.
For sure. And no Kenneth Murray yesterday, as he was held out with some precautionary hamstring tightness. A couple other injuries. Josh Wiley hit his head pretty hard on the turf. Not really sure what the severity of that was, but that was an early practice one-on-one. So he missed a lot of time. Kyle Phillips left midway through practice with hamstring. Don't know the severity of that. And then I think the main one is Marlon Davidson had a biceps, is what Brian Callahan said in the press conference. They didn't know much about it. But then last night, Paul Kaharski reporting that it's likely a torn biceps, which could likely mean that Marlon Davidson would be gone for the season. So I also see Matt Milano in Buffalo tore his biceps yesterday in practice, and he's going to try to have surgery and try to get back for December for a potential playoff push for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if Matt Milano more important to the Bills defense and Marlon Davidson important to the Titans defense for sure. But Marlon Davidson, a very solid depth piece across the defensive line. So that is a significant blow if Davidson is in fact out with a torn biceps for the rest of the year. All right. Now we had a couple comments Nick, how has Levis looked and how has the offensive line performed? Zachariah, how about Levis? How has he looked? Well, that's what we're going to get to because the offense did struggle. That is a fact yesterday, pretty mightily. I'll go through all of the struggle issues here in a second, but all of our Titans training camp coverage has been brought to you by Smoky Mountain Tops. The pros at Smoky Mountain Tops is family owned and operated for over 30 years. And if you're looking for an update to your kitchen or your bath countertops, Smoky Mountain Tops is where you should go because they have done over 100,000 projects, including Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. Smoky Mountain Tops is also proud to offer the luxurious Handstone Apimio Quartz collection in both Nashville and Knoxville studios. Handstone Quartz is known for their quality and exceptional design with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So call Smoky Mountain Tops to schedule an appointment to see the beautiful Handstone Apimio Quartz. Their phone number on the screen, 615-922-6539. You can email Christy. Her email is right there on the screen too, and set that appointment as well. Tell them you heard about them on A to Z Sports and see what they have to offer on SmokyMountainTops.com. So Sam, the offense was not good yesterday. And that is like not me or the other media members focusing on missed connections with Calvin Ridley on a few plays that happened Wednesday in practice. The offense was not good, top to bottom. They did a lot of red zone work yesterday in practice, and that was interesting, look, it's harder to score touchdowns in the red zone as the defense is more compact. But in 12 plays of red zone 7-on-7, like not even 11-on-11, but 12 plays of red zone 7-on-7, Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, and Malik Willis threw 0 touchdowns. There was 1 interception thrown by Will Levis in the end zone to Reek Woolen. And then a lot of just batted down, a lot of late a ball behind Calvin Ridley that went through his hands because it was a hard catch to make in the back of the end zone. A lot of pass breakups by the Seahawks defense. And frankly, a lot of good coverage. And that's 7-on-7. You're supposed to score touchdowns in 7-on-7 red zone. Now, in 11-on-11, I feel like they had a better success rate because you mix the run with the pass in 11-on-11 red zone. And while Will Levis did not get in the end zone, actually, no, Will Levis did get in the end zone in 11-on-11 red zone, throwing a touchdown to Mason Kinsey. Malik Willis did late in his, and Mason Rudolph did not. There was another interception. I think this is where really most of it went downhill, was at the very end of practice. The Titans and Seahawks were doing rotating 2-minute drills with both teams. The Seahawks first team went down the field, was unable to get any points. I believe that's when they did have a DK Metcalf touchdown called back from a hold. So they were doing real game situations with 1:10 on the clock in that spot. So the Titans first defense gets a stop against the Seahawks. And in the first play of the Titans number 1 offense, it was an out route undercut by Devin Witherspoon to Mason Kinsey. Will Levis, a bad interception. And that was it. Normally in practice, you see, okay, first play, let's just run it back, right? Let's reset it. Let's get some good work. But I think they really wanted to focus on the levity of what an interception is in a 2-minute drill. The game's over if that happens. And Will Levis and the Titans' first offense were game over after 1 play. So here's Brian Callahan talking yesterday about the 2-minute fail the Titans' first offense had.
Disappointed. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't what I was hoping to get out of that period. I thought it just wasn't good execution all the way around, and we threw an interception to what would end the game, and so it's good coaching to teach off of. But very disappointed in that. I was hopeful to get better work out of that with the operation instead of just throwing a pick on the first play, and that's it. So disappointing.
Do you feel like there's time to work on those things now that the joint practices are behind you, or are you worried that right now that might be what the team is?
Oh no, I don't think that. We got plenty of situational work coming up. We have a whole situational practice coming up as well. So no, this is just part of the process. Again, would have loved to see us be able to go 5, 6, 7 plays and have a shot at the end zone to win the game in that situation, and we didn't. And so we got to go back and learn from whatever that is that the mistake was. And you can't turn the ball over if you want to have a chance to win the game with a minute left. And so I think that's really all. To me, it's an isolated incident to the practice today, and we'll keep moving forward.
So isolated incident, Austin, and Brian Callahan not too overly concerned about it, but did not shy away from the fact that he was disappointed with his offense yesterday and disappointed particularly in that 2-minute drill. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. Obviously, throwing interceptions, not what you want in general, but also like this is a very specific part of practice that the Titans have not been able to work on yet in live scenarios. We have not seen them do 2-minute drill in their own team practices yet in training camp. We have not seen a situational 2-minute drill for Will Levis and company in the first preseason game. And so this is kind of our first chance to kind of see how the operations work in a 2-minute drill. And there's a lot of coaching things that can come off of that. And so for it to end with one play, interception, maybe a pick six,
not that it matters because the game was over, as Brian, but it was not going to be a pick six because of how Witherspoon had to kind of spin to catch it. Mason Kinsey was right there kind of on his back to make the tackle in that live game situation. But again, the game would have been iced at that point.
Iced the game over, quick interception. Not what you want to hear. And, interceptions have been kind of a theme here of training camp thus far. There's been a lot of them, from really all three quarterbacks, but probably the most interceptions thrown by Will Levis up to this point. So, yeah, it is an isolated incident, but it does kind of represent this overall point here that, this offense has not exactly clicked like we were hoping it would click up to this point in training camp so far. For
sure. So now let's get to the decision that Brian Callahan made, because I don't think, and you watched the Titans offense on the first day of practice, and it was probably better than yesterday's, but still not like sharp by any means. I feel like both defenses were the winners across both days. Do you kind of pick up the same?
Sorry, say that again. I was reading the chat.
No, I feel like both defenses were the better side both days.
Yeah.
If you're talking like a big picture thing, I'm not super impressed with Seattle's offense outside of throw it up to DK Metcalf and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I think you have to take any of Seattle's offensive success with a grain of salt, because the bread and butter of this Titans defense is those cornerbacks that are not out there. And so, you have to kind of look at it and say, hey, yeah, they might have thrown the ball to DK Metcalf a bunch, but are they able to do that with the same success if L'Jarius Sneed is guarding him? I don't know. Overall, I think that the Titans did a really good job all week of controlling the line of scrimmage on defense. I would say, the Seahawks probably did a worse job than the Titans of controlling the line of scrimmage, but probably did a better job in the secondary of handling these wide receivers. My biggest observation from day one of joint practice, Austin, was the Titans were completing a lot of passes, but not really getting any yards out of these passes. I mean, it was a lot of stuff underneath, a lot of 5-6 yard passes, a lot of checkdowns, even in 7-on-7s and drills that, you'd like to see your offense pushing the ball down the field. You'd like to see your quarterback layering some throws. And we didn't really see a ton of success in that area. A flash here, a flash there, but not much. And so I would say, yes, both the Seahawks defense and the Titans defense won out majority of the time when you combine these joint practices.
Yeah, Trey asked the question, Austin, it's been said the Seahawks won the practices. How does anyone win a practice? Practice is about how you come back from your mistakes and improve. Oh, absolutely, right? Like, you can still win and lose a practice, and just same way you win or lose a game, but the weight of winning or losing a practice is not that of a game, obviously. And so, like we talked about yesterday, what's the counterpunch? J.C. Latham got beat a bunch inside on day one. Does he correct it? Does he bounce back? Well, according to Ramon Foster, I saw J.C. Latham got beat again inside on some one-on-one reps. Now, I think one-on-one reps with O-line and D-line is a defensive drill, where one-on-one versus wide receivers and DBs is an offensive drill because it's easier to win from those particular sides. But did the Titans improve? And I think the answer can be yes. The Titans improved or learned a lot to improve, but I still think both defenses won. I wouldn't say
I would say that that's important. That's important. I don't necessarily know if the Titans improved from day one to day two of joint practices at all, but they did learn a lot to improve in the future. And that is ultimately what you're trying to get out of these joint practices is get a look at a defense and an offense that is not your own. Go against, I thought J.C. Latham said it really well after practice, where he's like, I'm going against edge rushers that are not Arden and Harold, and they've got different cues and techniques and tells. He's like, if you go up against the same guy in practice over and over and over again, you pick up on some of his sort of tendencies, and it makes the job easier for you to kind of cheat a little bit. And this was an example of JC having to get thrown into the fire against, very good edge rushers and not have the same luxury of being familiar with the guy from practice every day. So it will help JC Latham in the long run learn stuff, improve his game, look at the tape, break it down. That's why you do joint practices, and that is the purpose of practice. But Trey says that's the goal of practices. The other goal of some of these joint practices is also to get a litmus test of where you're at compared to another team. Get a look at your offensive line against another defensive line, and et cetera, for every position group. Yep. And so the reason that you come away from these things saying somebody won and somebody lost a practice is because you do start to get a feel of, all right, well, if the Seahawks DBs got the better of the Titans wide receivers, and some of the Seahawks wide receivers got the better of Titans DBs, and Seahawks quarterbacks made less mistakes, then you would say the Seahawks won the day and felt like they were further along in the training camp process than Tennessee is right now.
For sure. All right, so let's get to the decision that Brian Callahan made and said and shared with everybody, and that'll open up our conversation. Also, we're just maybe 2 minutes away from our announcement that I teased out there on Twitter last night. So maybe 2.5, 3 minutes away from the announcement. But let's hear from Titans head coach Brian Callahan about what Saturday's game is going to be.
I love the preseason games personally because you get a chance to really look at the depth of your team and see what kind of guys you have playing. And again, they're playing against other guys fighting for the same things. And so, you get pretty good competition out there with those groups. And I love watching it. It's great evaluation for us to see what we have in a real live action, because you don't always know what you have out here in the practice field until you see guys go play football for real. And so I'm looking forward to it. There's going to be some guys competing for spots, and our team plays really hard. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Play the starters at all?
No, our starters won't play. There may be a couple of guys that play, but our starters will not play. Obviously, 2 really hard, physical, heavy days of work for them. No reason to put them in the game. We got our controlled work here against their ones. Really, that's the benefit of the joint practices, is the amount you get against these guys. It's controlled. But no, our starters, should not expect to see many starters, if any at all.
You know which order you'll go with the quarterbacks?
Malik will start the game. Yeah, Malik will get his chance. He's rotated some with the 2s. In the last 2 days, he will start the game with that group. He's earned the right to have an opportunity to play with that group, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
So Malik Willis, the starting quarterback Saturday against the Seahawks. One, I think Malik has deserved this. He did get more work with the second team yesterday and the day before, and so I think that's a well-earned opportunity. So no starters in the offense outside of a couple guys. Which means no Will Levis at all, no Calvin Ridley. I don't know what that means for JC Latham, right? Or Tavondre Sweat, because you're talking about the defense as well. So that's going to be the conversation that we're going to dive into here. And so the question we're going to ask you guys, Brian Callahan's decision to not play the Titans starting offense in preseason game 2, are you thumbs up or thumbs down on that decision? Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on the decision to not play the Titans starting offensive line in the preseason game against the Seahawks? We want to get to your comments here in a second. So thumbs up or thumbs down on no Will Levis in the starting offense. We're going to focus on offense because the offense struggled in 2 days against the Seahawks and no game on Saturday. So we do have a guess for the announcement. Braden guesses announcement leak. A to Z is going to partner with Will Levis on his mayo perfume. No, we are not going to do that. It does not smell like mayo. It smells citrusy, as Will said. But we do have 2 bottles that are coming to my house, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. So, but that is not the announcement, Sam. Sam, you know the announcement. And honestly, this is going to be really cool because A to Z Sports has partnered with Titans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins and his youth football camp that's coming up at Nissan Stadium on Sunday, September 1st. It is for kids, boys and girls, 9 to 15 years old. You can go have a great football camp experience with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver on the Titans home field DeAndre Hopkins. It is a once-in-a-lifetime memorable opportunity for your child, again, 9 to 15 boys and girls, to train on Nissan Stadium's turf with DeAndre Hopkins. It's a great value. Camp tickets are just at over $100 after taxes and fees. You can have an autograph option to upgrade and meet and greet with DeAndre and his team with an exclusive Octane D-Hop autograph football. But let's check this, Sam. You get 20% off if you use our code ATOZ20 at checkout. That's 20% off if you use our code ATOZ at checkout. I'm going to paste the link to the camp in the chat right now. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can click on that link and use code. I'm also going to type code A2Z20 at checkout for 20% off. So we're partnering with D-Hop's football camp, but we're also going to get some exclusive content with DeAndre Hopkins over the next 2 weeks. So that is going to be fun for you guys. We'll have DeAndre Hopkins content with him. He's been hurt for a few weeks. We haven't really seen him. So again, this is a great opportunity for your son or daughter. If you want to sign up for this camp, I just dropped the link, ATOZ20 for 20% off the DeAndre Hopkins football camp, Nissan Stadium, September 1st here. So Sam, I think it's going to be really cool. I'll let you talk about it for a second because you're going to be involved talking with D-Hop too. I think this is a big deal for Titans fans to get a little bit of extra exposure to D-Hop.
Well, yeah. Hey, I mean, if you have a son or daughter that, is interested in football, that plays football, or would just like to have a fun day of working on football with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, you don't get that opportunity very often. And you certainly don't get it at an NFL stadium. So it is a very, very unique thing that I think would benefit, every kid out there to take part in and be a very fun day all around. And then, great, for Titans fans, because we're going to get some stuff from D-Hop, get to chat with D-Hop a couple of times and, keep more DeAndre Hopkins content cycling throughout Music City. He has kind of been the king of Music City since getting here. And so, I'm pumped to, attend the camp and talk with D-Hop a little bit more and see how many people turn out. Cause it's a special opportunity here.
Yeah. Patrick says that he would identify as 14 and Darren says I'll be 15 years old for a day. Yeah. Right. But hey, if you got a son or daughter and you want to have them go out there and have a good camp with D-Hop, go ahead and do that. So, okay, Sam, let's get back to the initial comments. A lot of D-Hop comments are mixed in with this, but we did ask the question for you guys to get to Brian Callahan's decision to not play the Titans starting offense in the preseason game against the Seahawks. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on this decision? I'm going to go ahead and put up a YouTube poll as well. But Sam, I'll let you start scrolling through some comments that you see on Facebook and on YouTube.
Yeah, John is thumbs up. So is Billy. So is Chris, IR Hoshi, and Titans Kyle. All thumbs up. Vanessa is thumbs down. Skip is thumbs down. Deshaun and Lucas are thumbs up. Got a thumbs up from Billy. Got a thumbs up from Carpet King. Thumbs down from Darren. Thumbs down from Mike. We got a thumbs up from Ashley and Ken. Cameron Strong is up. Guy and Chris are up. Cap says up as long as they play game 3. So an interesting contingent there. Edward says up. We got up. Need a series in game 3 from Denise as well. Richie is thumbs down. Thumbs down from Patrick. He clearly needs the work, talking about Will Levis. Jay is thumbs down. This is the time to get things working. Nick is thumbs down. Sounds like they need more work. Al is with him. Patricia, NM Titan, DeMarco are all the way up. Randy is way down, he says. So, I'd say the majority here, maybe a 60-40 split with thumbs up, people backing Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Austin, are you in that same boat as well?
I am thumbs down on this. I think the Titans starting offense needs more work. I think the Titans starting defense could take the night off on Saturday at Nissan Stadium against the Seahawks because they earned the night off, to be honest, in Wednesday and Thursday. I'm not saying the Titans offense didn't have hard days of practice because that's Brian Callahan cited, 2 really tough physical hard days of good work. Yeah, but I want to see more. I want to see better. It's almost like, I relate things to basketball a lot with the cross sport analogy, but it's like when you go out there and you can't just get anything to go down in some shoot around, you need to see the ball go through the hoop. And I think for me, I need to see the Titans offense have the ball go through the hoop. Now that's me personally. Maybe Brian Callahan doesn't feel that same type of way. But I think it was Jack and I that had the conversation on, we just kind of opened it and asked, how much do you want to see Will Levis play in the preseason? My answer to that was 75 snaps. I want to see Will Levis over 3 games play 75 snaps because I think that's a little bit over 1 game. Now I kind of knew that would be a little on the high end, but I truly feel like there's so many new things surrounding Will Levis, and there's a big opportunity for Will Levis in year 2 to make that step for the Titans to compete, to really take advantage of the short rookie contract window, get as prepared as possible. They played 14 snaps against in the first game against the Niners. So that's a lot of snaps to make up in 2 games, and especially they ain't playing the whole game against the Saints, right? And 60 snaps is a whole game, right? So they're not going to get to my number, well short of that if they don't play. I am thumbs down on this. I think the starting offensive line group, Will Levis, need to play more. I'm not concerned about DeAndre Hopkins at all. I'm not really concerned about Tyler Boyd. I think Calvin Ridley should be out there if Will Levis is out there. But I am thumbs down on not playing them at all. I get maybe you just do 1 drive because of the 2 days of practice, but not playing them at all I wouldn't make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose, I would play them if it was my choice. But I don't know if I can go as far as to put like a full thumbs down on the decision, mainly because of what you said, Austin. And it's the fact that you don't have DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd available. And so Will Levis throwing to his weapons is not exactly what throwing to his weapons will probably be like in the regular season. And so, yeah, you could get good work for the first team offensive line and, run blocking and the running backs. But I will say, I felt like the Titans did a good job protecting their quarterback in that first preseason game. And I think that first team offensive line looked pretty good this week. I don't think like offensive line protection, run blocking was the problem for the Titans offense. It was a lot of wide receivers that were locked up. And then some bad decisions made by your quarterback at times, and just not a ton of stuff getting going. But there were some positives in the offense, at least on Wednesday, when it came to running holes for Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard and some pretty solid run plays. So I don't necessarily need to see it. If you don't think it's super necessary for your offensive line, I would put them out there. I do think the more work you get right now for Will Levis specifically, the better. But I'll go ahead and give you like a baby thumbs up, and just a baby thumbs up.
So there's no baby thumbs up. There's either thumbs up or thumbs down. So you are thumbs up. The answer is thumbs up for you.
Yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's a little baby thumbs up.
Yeah, but don't baby walk your way over the side. Go to your side of the room. You are on the side of thumbs up. I'm on the side of thumbs down.
Fine. Yeah, I'm thumbs up. I don't care enough. I mean, like Brian Callahan has to do what's best for his team, and he knows how his team's feeling physically as well. And if these guys are wiped after practice, and you don't feel like there's anything you can gain in this preseason game that you haven't already been able to do at practice, I'm okay with sitting everybody. I'm cool with this. I do agree with the chat, though. I think they need to play in week 3. Absolutely need to play in week 3. You cannot sit your starters in week 3, then have an off week, then just try and throw them into the fire in Chicago in a hostile environment on the road week 1 and hope that 3 weeks of no football is fine. I want to see this group get more work together and Will Levis get more work specifically. So I can understand it. I can give you a thumbs up if you're not comfortable doing it after 2 very intense joint practices, which just are way more intense and physical than a regular week of practices would be. Yeah. But, this is also not like the tendency all over the league. There's a lot of teams that had joint practices this week that are still playing their starters because they want to get more work in.
So if you look at how the calendar falls, the last preseason game in New Orleans, so on the road, right? You play on the road. So now your starters are going to get a home game experience, a road game experience. Another caveat to this, Brian Callahan calling plays in live action for the first time, now the second time when he does it Saturday, but also having that communication with Levis too, having more of those reps.
Sure. You did mention, you want to see the ball go through the hoop. I would say the ball did go through the hoop in the first preseason game. I mean, they scored 14 points in 14 plays.
Sure.
They did as good as they possibly could have done. I mean, the thing that you could argue to me would be, and this is probably ultimately what it comes down to for me, is I want to see more situational football out of the Titans offense. I would like to see what Will Levis does when he has to drive 90 yards to go and score a touchdown. I would like to see what they do when they're in a 2-minute drill with 3 timeouts and how that communication between Callahan and Levis goes. Unfortunately, that's not exactly how the preseason works. You're not just like fed those opportunities all the time, and you can't pick and choose what situations you get put in and what situations you're not put in. So I mean, Brian Callahan said he would like if the Titans could challenge something during a preseason game just so he could work on his communication with his game strategy guy, but there wasn't a play worth challenging in the first preseason game, so you can't always control that.
Sure. And like if you think about it, they scored 2 touchdowns, but they also combined had 9 free first downs. Like the return game and the penalty on San Francisco gave the Titans offense and Will Levis 9 free first downs. That's a lot of yards there that you didn't have to earn or situationally work through. Now the second drive, even when you had the 2 free first downs from Jaquan's punt return, it still was a sustained drive that was really impressive. But I honestly think they need to play. And going back to the calendar, like I was getting to, you played on Saturday, August 10th. If you don't play this week at all, now it's 2 full weeks until you play on the 25th. And then it's another 2 full weeks until you play in Chicago. So you're going like game week, bye week, real game week. And so, that's a lot of on and off. I think playing in week 2 of the preseason, even if it's for less than the 14 snaps you played in the first game, I still think it's worth getting up, going through the warm-up, suiting up, going through the motions of a kickoff, and then working a drive and being done. I think that's important for Levis and for Brian Callahan and for the offensive line. I think those are the 3 components that it's more important for. I'm not as worried about Calvin Ridley or the other weapons. I think it's Levis and Callahan and the O-line need work together. So that's how I stand on it. Now, if we want to go to the chat on YouTube, I put up a poll. Brian Callahan's decision to not play the Titans starting offense in preseason game 2, are you thumbs up or thumbs down? Sam, I was thumbs down. You were thumbs up. You are a part of the 67% of the audience on YouTube that said thumbs up. I am the minority of 33% chance that said thumbs down. So that's where the audience is going. But, 67 to 33 is an interesting split. I saw you favorited a comment. What do you want to get to here?
Yeah, well, this is just a long comment here from Jordan. Big old comment, or Jaden. So big comment, thought we'd read it here. He said, we didn't do good in the red zone drill, but hey, Seattle has a lot of young, talented defensive backs, defensive-minded head coach, who is a dog, by the way, and runs that same aggressive defense Denard Wilson does. From what he's seen, it looked very physical, so he doesn't think playing in the preseason game after 2 long days is worth the risk, considering they have questionable depth throughout the whole roster. I think that's a really good point out of Jaden, because these were physical practices. Austin, like this Seattle defense is a lot like the Titans defense, physical. There's a couple dudes that did not hold back, that were just coming up and popping some Titans players. And Kyle Phillips got thrown down by his face mask at one point. Tajay Spears had a helmet to helmet, all in Wednesday's practice.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of near fights kind of going on. It was heated and physical and intense. And so, I think when you look at that, and when you look at, by the way, all of these injuries that are now piling up, Kyle Phillips is hurt. You've got.
Yeah, I've actually got a video of Brian Callahan going through the injuries, so we don't have to do it off the top of our head.
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's Brian Callahan talking about the injury update, and then just how he defined the overall 2 days of work with the Seahawks.
Coburn went in early as precautionary. Josh Wiley hit his head on the ground in a one-on-one, so took him in as a precaution. No official designation on him, but took him in just to be safe. Kyle Phillips had a hamstring. Marlon had a bicep. We're waiting to see the severity of that, so we'll find out. Bryce Oliver had a little heat issue. He went in. And then Kenneth Murray, we held out with some hamstring tightness as a precautionary, just to keep him out of the practice. So nothing serious there. But other than that, I think that's everybody. Everybody else was the same injury-wise, but good second day of work. We had to, we cut the practice down after a really heavy day yesterday in the heat. So got some good situational work in the red zone. It's always hard down there, particularly against this scheme. Obviously, I've gone against Mike before and going against Denard sort of every day and OTAs and training camp. They make life difficult down there. It's a good sound scheme in the passing game. And so that was good. It was good work to get against some other folks down there in the red zone, but 2-minute was not great on anywhere, really, I don't think, on both sides. Hoping to get a little more out of that situation than we did, but we didn't. So here we are.
And Callahan mentioned at another point that, guys' legs were just dead. Guys were just dead. And, they were dead after Wednesday, and they were especially dead after Thursday, which is why they cut this practice short. We've got a question asking if Seattle tackled to the ground. Yeah, it was a full tackle, live sort of practice for 2 straight days, kind of like playing a game back-to-back days.
It felt like full speed high school scrimmage, where everything's a go. And I find this crazy, and maybe this is just because of where they're geographically located. This is the first Seahawks joint practice since 1991. And
what?
that, yeah, it's the first time they've done a joint training camp practice since 1991.
Wow.
And so they're not used to it, right? And obviously this is Mike McDonald, new staff and everything, but the players a lot are the same. But yeah, they were going after guys. So I thought that was just strange overall. The Titans have been doing this every year for the last, 7 to 8 years. So there's one guy in the Titans that cannot help himself but tackle to the ground, and that's safety Matt Jackson. I don't know what it is. Matt Jackson cannot keep guys up. He's always finishing the play.
Yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily the same stigma of stay off the ground in joint practices.
It was
guys are coming to pop you, and your guys are getting hit. And so I say all this to kind of come back to the point, Austin, that you had 2 straight days of guys being full contact, getting hit, being brought to the ground. They were so dead that they cut practice 15 minutes short yesterday. In that context of Brian Callahan sort of understanding how his team is feeling, I don't know. I trust his judgment. I don't need to see Will Levis just for 1 or 2 series, just for the sake of throwing them out there if they're not feeling good physically. So that is ultimately why I come back to that thumbs up and why I think that's a really good point there made by Jaden.
MB did say, Austin, what's the point of the Seahawks starters route too? I think it's a fair comment because, with whoever's doing a joint practice, both head coaches are very clear about the plans that they have, and they want to be aligned with the plans, right? That's the whole point of why you pick your joint practice partner. It's because you trust the other side to do it the right way. And so, there might have been a conversation, throughout the last couple of days with Mike McDonald and Brian Callahan, say, hey, let's get A, B, C, and D accomplished, and then we'll sit our big guys on Saturday, unless they start fights and then they're playing the whole damn game, which Leonard Williams was a cocked back punch away on J.C. Latham from a big old fine and playing the entire game because he had his left hand on J.C. Latham's chest plate and his right arm cocked back, ready to go. And for whatever reason, he didn't throw the punch. He held it.
Hey,
he held it there for a photo picture, but it didn't happen.
It's a severe punishment. Traylon Burks talked about it after practice where he was just hey, Traylon, why was nobody fighting? There was a lot of intensity. Why'd nobody fight? He was just man, nobody wants to play the full game. Nobody wants to go out there and play 4 quarters. And there's a fine attached to it, a hefty fine. I want to say Traylon said, could be wrong here, $50,000.
JC said $50K.
50K.
Because Curtis said this is where Rand saved the day because JC Latham told the story of feeling somebody's grip on him and then looking down and it was Rand. He's like, oh, okay, I got to cool off. Saved him from the $50K fine. Now, the irony in this is when Rand Carthon, after the draft, was asked by Ramon, Kayla, and Will on the zone of, Are you going to be the one to get in there to stop some scuffle between all these big guys you just drafted? And Rand said, no, I'll leave that up to the strength staff. But when push came to punch, Rand Carthon was in the middle of it to break it all up. So props to the main man, the GM there, for stepping in and breaking that thing up. But it was very close. Leonard Williams wanted to sock JC right in the face.
Oh yeah.
He got really close. All right, Sam. Like the show. Lock in, like the show. King VC got a super chat. Make sure you hit that like button. We got a lot of people watching, not nearly enough likes. So please hit that like button for us on YouTube and on Facebook if you haven't already. That goes a long way. I do want to get to a comment real quick because John might have missed the announcement. So I'll just bring that up again real quick. The announcement is A to Z Sports is partnered with DeAndre Hopkins and his youth football camp that's coming up September 1st here in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. I will once again post the link again in the chat for your son or daughter ages 9 to 15 to sign up with that youth football camp. And you can use the code ATOZ20 for 20% off of that camp, a once-in-a-lifetime experience to get a hands-on experience and coaching and camp experience with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver on the field of your favorite team. So I just posted the link again in the chat, and ATOZ20 for 20% off. All right. So let's get to our next conversation, Sam, because where the Titans won and where the Titans lost in these two practices, I think is interesting. And then we'll talk a big picture about this team overall. But first, I want to tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn. Help them let them help you with that injury recovery. They have all the experts and the resources right there in Franklin, Tennessee, off I-65 and Highway 96. So check them out online, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sports book born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. So whatever that first bet wager amount is, it goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet. Second chance to win big with BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I will have a no-runs first inning play for everybody at my next BetMGM live read.
All right, I will be ready for that. Okay. Sam, where the Titans won and where the Titans lost on the 2 days of joint work with the Seahawks, where do you think the Titans won the most?
The line of scrimmage for me. For me, it's the line of scrimmage. I think the Titans did a really good job on the offensive line, setting up some of their running backs to have success on the ground. And when you look at the Titans' defensive line and the pressure that they were bringing at Geno Smith and particularly Sam Howell, Austin, you noted on Wednesday a series of 4 consecutive plays that the Titans' defensive line sacked Sam Howell. They were all over them, rushing a lot of throws out early on Thursday as well. I think they controlled the line of scrimmage very well and did a good job bottling up Kenneth Walker on day 2 after he kind of made a lot of people miss on day 1. So when you look at the trenches, I think the trenches is where the Titans won and maybe more of a loss at some of the skill positions.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Titans won more on the defensive line than they won on the offensive line, but I would still agree with your point that the Titans, I believe, up front offensively were good enough to make me feel still like they're progressing in the right direction. I don't feel good or great about the offensive line going up against Chicago here in a few weeks, but I feel like they are on the right path to being where they need to be 3 weeks from now. So I also think pass rush, I am way more pleased with, because it's not about like, who's going to be the guy for Arden Key if he's suspended for 6 weeks. By the way, still no official word from the league on that suspension. We're approaching, it's over 2 weeks now since that first came out, I believe. But they are just sending guys from every different direction that makes me feel like it's not about the guys that they have rushing the quarterbacks. It's about the collection of guys with the calls from Denard Wilson. And so I feel like the Titans were winners there, how they disguise things. I think the defensive backs that played did a solid job with a really hard assignment on DK Metcalf.
I mean, yeah, that does need to be said, right?
Right.
That like some of the defensive backs that were playing against the first team Seahawks offense were the Titans' third, fourth, fifth string like cornerbacks, right? Like I saw a video out there of Titans cornerbacks struggling with Jackson Smith and Jigba, but it was guys like Robert Javier who are not going to make this team that were struggling with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So you got to put that into context a little bit.
Like Jarvis Brownlee Jr. has had a really good camp. Had a tough couple of days. Had a big assignment, but hey, grow up, big boy. You're showing that you're capable of playing. And so I think for the fact that Jarvis Brownlee Jr. just got the opportunity to practice against DK Metcalf a couple days in a row is going to make him a better football player. So I think overall Titans defense winners, right? Titans offensive line won more than they lost, not as often as the defense. And I'll also add this in too. I thought the Titans run game looked pretty good as well. And
behind the offensive line. Yeah.
It honestly didn't matter which running back though. Like, Tajay and Tony look good. I really am excited about that duo.
Yeah.
I saw Julius Chestnut, Hassan Haskins, and maybe less of Jabari Small having success as the third guy. But Julius Chestnut had a couple where he just sliced through the Seahawks middle of the defense, one for 11-on-11 red zone touchdown for about 12 yards, and then another in 11-on-11 full field period that probably gained over 20. And he was still finishing that run 20 yards down the field, running through defenders. So I thought Julius Chestnut, Hassan Haskins, also had good couple of days with the overall run game with Tony and Tajay.
Yeah, the offensive concerns really come down to the passing game. It comes down to your quarterback play and your wide receivers being able to create separation down the field or, convert in the case of Calvin Ridley when you have separation and be able to run down some of those footballs. So
yeah, and I think with Ridley, where he lost is the physicality of Riq Woolen, who is every bit of 6'4", 210 pounds. The guy is a freak. Like Riq Woolen is in his like cornerback squat stance, and he looks like he's taller than most receivers out there that are not.
Yeah, no, Riq Woolen. I mean, if you were a Seahawks fan watching these joint practices, I think your takeaway is stock up on Riq Woolen because he was very, very, very impressive against Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and so I think Treylon Burks also had a good collection of 2 days. Like he didn't have as much involvement in some of the red zone work that I think I'm a little bit bummed about. Like I would have liked to just see them throw the ball to Burks in the red zone one of those times. It didn't really happen. But I think it was the very first play of 11-on-11 for the Titans first team, hit Burks on a slant right in stride. It's the same play that Jaquan Jackson went 75 yards with.
Yeah.
Burks doesn't have Jaquan's speed, high-end speed, but Burks catching it wide open, throw on the money, in stride, turns upfield, gains 25 plus, and who knows if he could have run through some of those tackles towards the end of that play. But I think Treylon Burks net positive over the couple of days, where Calvin Ridley was a net negative over the 2 days.
Yeah, it was fine. Burks, I'm not sure Burks moved me one way or another. I think it was all right.
Okay.
He had some catches here, but, also had some periods like team period that he was relatively quiet for. I don't really remember him making a play in the full team period. So he had some nice routes and one-on-ones, did some nice things in 7-on-7 at times, but I don't remember a nice play from Burks in the team period offense that I watched. So,
fair. Fair. And like, I didn't watch the offense the first day, but
it's also, it is limited snaps, right? Like if it's the first team offense, it's 8 snaps of team period or whatever. So, the opportunities for a guy like Treylon Burks to make a play are limited.
All right. So another question, we got an A or B answer. Does the joint practice reporting with the Seahawks raise or lower your expectations for the Titans this season? We tried to do our best to lay this out there for you guys. To kind of see where the struggles were. Levis struggled, the passing offense absolutely struggling throughout these practices, the defense looking pretty solid. So does the reporting surrounding these two practices raise or lower your expectations for the Titans this season? I'll tell you what, Farm Bureau health plans can both raise your health coverage and lower that rate. How about that, Sam? right there. Farm Bureau Health Plans, fbhp.com/ATOZ is the website to go get your quote today. With Farm Bureau Health Plans, serving Tennesseans for 78 years, they can do the best of both worlds. Better coverage for a lower rate. That's a lower deductible for you and your family, or whatever your situation is. Not paying out of pocket for going to the dentist twice a year like we need to. Not having to pay out of pocket for your vision coverage if that's necessary. Whatever your situation is, single, growing family, empty nested family, Farm Bureau Health Plans will make it work for you. They've even gotten cute and special and really creative with my parents. They could either bundle my parents together as one, but it was a lot cheaper if they just covered them separately. And so that was the right move for that. So they can help that out for you. Farm Bureau Health Plans with the link fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. So you place your first bet, and if it's no good, you get the money back into your account in the form of a bonus bet with the code ATOZ Sports. If you need a first bet, I've got you. Hear ye, hear ye. The Magic Conch is back. I'm coming at you with another no-runs first inning play, and today we're risking it for the biscuit a little bit because there's a real good offense that I'm betting will not score in the first inning. I'm going to Baltimore. I'm going to the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, Cooper Criswell against Corbin Burns over there. So, hey, they've got a lot of home run power in that O's lineup. Gunnar Henderson has 30 home runs. You know the whole deal. They've been killing it recently. But I like Cooper Criswell's matchup here. The big righty, 4.02 ERA, but his best ERA of any inning in the first inning and the first time through the order. Opponents hitting just 220 against him in that first inning. Red Sox, Orioles, no runs first inning. That's my play. We're going for 6 in a row. So 6:05 p.m. Central Time start time. Let me know if you take it on Twitter too. Just, I got to know who's riding with me. A couple of you guys have been doing it, and you've been reaping the rewards. Austin has not been doing it, has been missing out on the rewards. So 6 in a row today.
I did it, but I read the question. I made the wrong move, but that's me being an idiot. And I'll own up to that, me being an idiot. So don't be an idiot like me. And
hey, Ashley's right. Ashley's right. These are two good offenses too. Like Boston can hit, Baltimore can hit, but we just need to get through one inning. And I like both of these pitchers in the first inning, which means we might have some little extra juice. I'm interested in seeing what no runs first inning is actually listed at BetMGM. I don't care what it's
at. So state it again.
Red Sox, Orioles, no runs first inning tonight on BetMGM.
All right, Red Sox, Orioles. I will look that up here in a second on my BetMGM app. But Sam, I'll send you back to the chat here where we need more people to keep liking the show on Facebook and on YouTube. I just added it as a new poll on YouTube as well. And that question is, does the reporting surrounding the joint practices with the Seahawks raise or lower your expectations for the Titans this season? So raise or lower, what are you seeing from the chat? And I'll update the poll once we have some results start to file in.
Yuri is still the same, not changing anything. Same thing with Steven, same thing with Darren, same thing with Eric. It's raising Willie's expectations and unfortunately is lowering Caleb's expectations. Same thing with Kicks Good. Ken says my expectations aren't really high to begin with, so he's not tripping out. We've got a raise from Titans Kyle because of the D without Snead and Cheeto. Interesting take there. No starting corners. Defense held their own. Raises Titans Kyle's expectations. Billy Sullivan says he still thinks it's a 9-10 win team. Lowers the expectations of Mario. Let's see. We're raising from Christian because he knows it will make them better in the long run. Yuri says it's still the same. Raz says neither. A lot of the starters are not playing. Ty Kendrick is the same on the meter. Linwood says neither as well. DeMarco is raising slightly. So we got a couple of different takes here. Some people who are unmoved, some people who are maybe knocked down a peg, some people who are saying they'll be better for this overall. So Austin, does this raise your expectations or lower your expectations?
I will say Sox, Orioles, no runs in the first inning, -110. I'm in on it. I see Bet and Freddie on Twitter just tweeted us. He's in on that. And I see Caps right there on YouTube says it's -110 right there on BetMGM. So there you go. I am I have my expectations slightly lowered because the last couple of days from what I've seen, I still think Will Levis has a lot of growing to do. That's not like an astute observation by any means, but that's just kind of how I feel. Like I feel like there's a lot of moving pieces and it's going to take some time. I think last week I said, man, if the Titans were playing 7-on-7 tournaments, they'd be a really good football team. I think the offensive line is starting to come along. Is Will Levis going to be able to match that progression to keep up? Or is Will Levis going to make some of the bad plays that are backbreakers like he did in the 2-minute drill yesterday? He's thrown a lot more interceptions the last week and a half of camp than he did like the first week and a half or 2 weeks of camp. Now, I think throwing interceptions in training camp is a good thing. Lucas, by the way, is betting Freddie. So what's up, Lucas? I'm glad we get to put the name to the account there. But I think with Levis, I want to see him push the ball down the field, but I also want to see the right decisions. And that throw to Mason Kinsey had no chance. No chance. Witherspoon was all over the out route. It was a late throw. Callahan said he needed to see the route again. I don't think there was anything Mason Kinsey could have done with that route to have it not be picked. I just think it was a late throw, a bad throw, and Witherspoon was all over it to end the game there. And that is something that Will Levis cannot do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm slightly lowered.
Yeah. I have a hard time saying lowered only because I think this kind of was my expectation a little bit, Austin. I feel like the Titans have kind of met my expectations. And so maybe it makes me raise my expectations just slightly when I think about, they've gotten some of this out of their system. Hopefully they will be better because of it, like the chat has pointed out. And maybe they will look even better once DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd and some of these starting corners are out there. I mean, it's kind of hard to, put yourself there yet because we don't know what it looks like with L'Jarius Sneed and Cheeto in this defense at the same time. We don't really know what this offense looks like against another offense when we've got DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd working with Will Levis. But this was sort of my expectation that you would do a good job on the defensive front. Defensive line would be very strong, that you had a dangerous run game and some weapons that when healthy are good, but your quarterback, needs to work on his decision making. And for every play with Will Levis that you say, wow, you say, uh-oh. And, that's really what he needs to try and polish up is not turning the football over. And I go back and forth. I'm with you all exactly because Will Levis has been intentional recently in training camp of taking the high percentage looks, taking the free play, the easy pass, the check down, the short yardage, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all good and well to take the high percentage looks. But when you don't push the ball down the field and the high percentage looks aren't resulting in first downs and moving the ball significantly, I start to have some worry. So I would like to see the Titans have a few more chunk plays through the air that we haven't seen yet. But ultimately, I think it raises my expectations because I feel like Will Levis and the Titans offense have not played very well, that they've not played their best football by any means, and they've still kind of been hanging around. Like it hasn't been like they've gotten dominated in any of these practices. It hasn't been like they got dominated. In fact, they scored 14 points on 14 plays in the first preseason game. And I didn't think they looked particularly sharp in the preseason game, and they still found a way to score 2 touchdowns. So this will correct itself for me and come back to the mean. Will Levis will start to play better. There will be some deeper balls down the field. The return of D-Hop will help that. And maybe it raises my expectations just a little bit for what's possible for this team.
Okay. I think it's fair. I think my expectations, just to kind of establish them, are that this team will be a better football team than last year's team. I don't know how much better, though. And I also don't know how much that's going to be seen in the win-loss record, which is
I agree with that.
all that matters, right?
I agree.
But my expectations at this point a year ago were for this team to be fighting for the AFC South.
A year ago, how?
I thought the team a year ago with Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, I thought this team with Tim Kelly, with some of the defensive pieces, I thought they were going to be competing for the AFC South in training camp before last year. Now, that all went to hell when Ryan Tannehill pooped the bed in New Orleans in week 1.
The offensive line really.
And the offensive line was awful, right? But I didn't expect the O-line. I didn't trust my eyes with the O-line last year in camp. I knew the O-line was bad, but I was like, it's not that bad. And it was that bad. So but my expectations are that they will be a better team than the win-loss record a year ago. I just don't know if the win-loss record will really reflect how much more improved they are going to be.
I think that's fair. I think 7-10, 8-9 is not like unrealistic expectations for this team. I have yet to sit down and look at a schedule and make my predictions. I'm sure we will all do that before the start of the regular season as we go through it. But yeah, I think improvement should be expected. I think this is a better roster top to bottom, pretty much all the way around.
Yeah.
But how does that actually translate? Because that team last year won more games than they probably should have too. So
yeah, especially towards the end of the season, kind of stealing that last one without a doubt. All right, Sam, I think that'll do it for us on the football side of things, but make sure you hit that like button on the show. We're going to get to good news. So if you have good news, we want to hear your good news in the chat this week. So share your good news. I saw Karen's got some really fun good news to share, but here we go to wrap up our Friday. Wilson County Hyundai for our good news. It's always good to save money on the next car buying experience, and you can do that with our friends in Lebanon. Check them out at wilsoncountyhyundai.com to save some money on that new ride. So good news in the chat. What's your good news? I did see Karen's good news. I don't know if I'll be able to find it in the chat, but she said she is going to be in the tunnel on Saturday for, I'm guessing, the pregame, which is really cool. So she says thanks to her rep. So shout out to Karen, who's going to be in the tunnel. That's a fun experience to be able to see what that is like from the tunnel. So that's Karen's good news. Sam, do you see some more good news in the chat?
Yeah, let's see here what we got. We got Ty Kendrick says he now owns 2 trucks as an owner operator now. So that's a big win. Congrats to Ty Kendrick for that good news. Let's see. We've got good news. This is not good news from Maserati Max. Says Hurricane Ernesto is going to hit him in Bermuda tomorrow. Not good news at all.
How is that good news?
I think he's being sarcastic. Not good news, though. Bad news. It'd be good news if Hurricane Ernesto does not hit you.
I'm trying to tell what is that emoji he used after good news? I can't.
It looks like a scroll.
That's right. I don't know what the scroll means. Anyway, go ahead.
Christian got his tickets to Titans versus Patriots. Yep. Demetrius, Wilson County Fair, and going to see the new Alien movie this weekend. Is that? I didn't know there was a new Alien movie.
I don't know. It's not my alley, not my lane.
Yeah, movies aren't really your lane.
No, they're not.
Yeah, we know. Let's see. Taking the kids to Canada's Wonderland for the first time this weekend from Jonathan. That's good news for sure. Joseph says good news. Bought tickets to Titans versus Patriots, and he'll be in Tennessee for the first time in November for his birthday from New Mexico. So coming to his first Titans game in November. That's fantastic. That's going to be an all-time. It's a good game to go to too, because I think the Titans have a good shot in that one. So
it's November, should be really fun weather. Should be peak Tennessee weather, fall.
50, that's 55. We get
during the 3-week window of fall. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Braden released his EP not too long ago. Big milestone for a musician. Congrats to Braden Mitchell Wall on the EP release. Ryan Fields, Post Malone's new country album is absolutely fire, which is good news. Have you heard it, Austin?
Also not my lane.
What is your lane?
It's sports. Sports, and I will say cooking is my lane.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and do some good news because I'll talk about the DeAndre Hopkins opportunity.
Yeah.
I have been on a kick where I have been baking high protein sweets or putting together using protein powder in I've made and yogurt and like banana. I made brownies this.
I do have
past
bad
week.
news for you though.
Okay, I made
Bad
brownies.
news for your good news.
Okay, brownies I made this past week. Probably the whole sheet of brownies in a 9x9 pan had over 100 grams of protein, and it consisted of chocolate protein powder, heavy protein vanilla yogurt, some peanut butter powder, and then a banana, an apple, and 2 eggs and baking soda. That was it. And they are good, like legitimately really good. So I've made ice cream with protein powder and yogurt. That was awesome. Like I've been coming home after these training camp practices, and I've been eating yogurt protein ice cream, and it's been awesome. And it's cooled me down. I've also made some frozen Buckeyes with protein and peanut butter and yogurt too, covered in chocolate. They've been awesome. So I've been doing that. So why are you gonna poo-poo my good stuff?
I'm just putting protein in sweets does not make it healthy, unfortunately, which I do have to just like.
What do you mean? Like, what's unhealthy about what I did?
Well, I mean, if you're eating ice cream and brownies and stuff.
Yeah, but what does it consist of? I'm not using flour. It's gluten-free. I'm not like it's literally a banana, an apple, protein powder, peanut butter, and some honey. That's it. It's
in
literally
what?
That makes and some baking soda. That makes brownies.
Where's the and then the chocolate protein
The chocolate
powder?
is the protein powder.
I would have to try this before I give it a thumbs up or thumbs down.
I'm telling you.
All right.
Those are brownies. And no, I'm not gluten-free. I'm just like, how can I fake sweets?
I mean, that is a healthy that's not a bad combination. So if it tastes good,
it's 2 eggs, 1 ripe banana, 1 apple, 2 scoops of protein powder, some drizzle of honey, some Greek yogurt, and peanut butter.
All right.
It makes brownies.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, you might need to bring one to training camp. Bring me a brownie to training camp.
If they're still around, if this batch I made is still around by the next time I see you in person, we'll see.
Okay. All right. I love it. My good news was taken in the chat. Darius was all on it with me. The challenge is back, baby. The challenge 40 is back. And the challenge 40, Austin, the biggest season maybe they've ever done. They've got all of the classics. You've got Johnny Bananas. You've got CT. You've got Darrell. You've got all of the big OGs, Cara Maria and Laurel. You've got all of the new school battle of the eras. So 4 different eras of the challenge coming together for the challenge 40. It was a great first episode. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have one of my favorite shows back. So that was great news for me this week, and going to continue to be good news in the weeks to come.
There you go. I've never really watched the challenge. I did appreciate and have a lot of fun watching CT on the most recent Traders season that we've talked about back in the spring.
Yep.
So yeah, that is good news. All right, for anybody that missed our good news, our overall announcement from a couple times earlier in the show, we are partnering with DeAndre Hopkins in his youth football camp. So I'll give a little bit more information, and we'll also have some information on our social media later today. We're partnering with D-Hop in his camp and Octane Football here as the camp is at Nissan Stadium September 1st, 1:30 to 4 p.m. It's boys and girls 9 to 15 years old. The camp comes at a great value because it's just over $100 after T's and taxes. It's $108 with after taxes and fees, but we're going to give you 20% off with our code ATOZ20. And along with this good news, we're also going to have some exclusive D-Hop content. So we're still working on the details surrounding that and the timing of that, but we're going to have some D-Hop content to hopefully put him in front of our audience and be able to get you guys to know D-Hop a little bit more. He's a quiet guy, but he cares about Nashville. He's also hasn't been out there at practice for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll be able to see D-Hop on the practice field or on the game field, Nissan Stadium, September 1st. I just posted that link in the chat, and 20% off with ATOZ20. Sam, I know you're pumped about this. So I'll let you kind of add on to what you said earlier too.
Yeah, no, very excited for this. Like you said, some nice exclusive D-Hop content coming to the A to Zites and the people who tune into all of the stuff here that we've got going on. Going to be a lot of fun. The camp is going to be a lot of fun for great value. Whatever, less than $100 after you use our code ATOZ20, and your kid can go and play football and do a little camp here with a future Hall of Famer on Nissan Stadium. So like, that's a crazy, unique experience. I could never imagine growing up and getting to play football on an NFL stadium with a future Hall of Famer as a child. That incredible. So yeah, use the code, sign up for it. We're really excited about this. And I'm really excited about D-Hop in general, what D-Hop is for Nashville, what D-Hop is going to continue to be for Nashville, and hopefully all of the D-Hop content that we'll have coming here.
All right, guys, that'll be it for us on this Friday. Titans do play tomorrow. Didn't really talk much about that, but Sam, you and Buck will have coverage from Nissan Stadium for Titans Seahawks preseason game number 2. So make sure you're getting ready for that. And like the show, before you head out of here, always like the show on Facebook and on YouTube. We appreciate that. It goes a long way for us. And Sam and Buck will catch you guys at Nissan Stadium tomorrow night. I'll be back Monday morning for another week of Titans training camp. We'll catch you guys then. Have a great weekend. See you later. Appreciate it as always.